You are listening to Confessions of a Counselor podcast. Here we will talk all things mental health in bite-sized chunks. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Confessions of a Counselor. I'm your host, Janice, and in today's episode, I thought we would talk about the inevitable change. So what to do when we're confronted with the need for change when we're talking about therapy and the therapeutic approach. So let's jump right in. In terms of being confronted with change, it's a topic that comes up in therapy quite often. Oftentimes, that's the reason we're coming to therapy, is that we want to change. And so when I'm talking about behavior change, I kind of give my clients the options that are available to us, right? So we can actively change the behavior. We can choose to feel better about the problem. We can choose to tolerate the problem, or inevitably, we can not do anything about it and stay miserable. So when we're talking about our choices to change, we can always choose not to change, right? That is an option. But I want us to, when we're choosing that option, to know what we're doing when we make that choice. I'm choosing not to change, right? So I want to be active in that decision. Change isn't an on and off switch. It's a process. It's something that we need to work on if we're going to choose that actively changing the situation rather than just tolerating it or managing the feelings that are coming up around it. So for choosing the active change option, which oftentimes people do when they come to therapy, we can look at what's called the stages of change trans theoretical model. So this is something that I talk about a lot with clients, and it's what is the process that takes us through moving to that I've made the change. And with this, there's some steps that I think we often miss, which is why change doesn't stick or doesn't stay the same. So this model is a roadmap into that. So first of all, there's pre-contemplation. So this is oftentimes when we don't know that there's something that we need to change. We're not aware of the change that needs to happen. So we don't think that there's any problem. The second stage is contemplation. So this is when I start to realize I might need to change this behavior. This is something that I'd like to do differently in the future, or I'm not sure that I'm really comfortable with this choice that I'm making. Oftentimes, this is when we see therapy activated, or we start to talk to friends and family about it, or we're just in our head trying to make that choice on whether or not I want to continue with the behavior that I'm doing. And the next step is preparation. And I think oftentimes this is the step that gets missed. So in terms of preparation, this is where I start to think about, how do I want to change it? I might seek out a therapist and ask for help on how to change it. I might start to look at my lifestyle and choose whether or not I want to continue doing what I'm doing. And this preparation step is the getting ready, the making plans, and the setting goals. And this stage is really, really important if we want the change to stick. If we want the change to actually be something that we do moving forward. After preparation, then comes the action. And I think we often want to skip from contemplation, there's something I want to change, into the action step. And we miss that preparation step. So the action is, now we're doing it. Now we're making the change. Now I'm choosing to do something different. I'm actively in therapy. I'm talking about the problem. I'm trying on new behaviors. I'm doing something different. That's the action stage. And then finally, we move into maintenance. And this is where I don't have to think about the changes often. Sort of something that's just happening naturally, and that I'm able to know that I've changed the behavior. And it's keeping those changes going as well as preventing relapse. It's not necessarily a straight line. So as I'm moving through the stages, I might go back a stage, I might move forward a stage, particularly in the kind of contemplation, preparation, action stage. We might move through those stages several times before we actually move into maintenance, but it's a roadmap into how we're moving forward. It's a part of being human. And, I always try to remind clients of this. We're human. And so we're not going to be robotic about the way in which we change. It's never going to be this straightforward thing. And then as we start to kind of understand change a bit more, we can also look at the stages of learning, which kind of informs maybe perhaps where my mind is going to be at as I'm moving through those actionable stages that we talk about in the trans theoretical model. So the stages of learning is when I'm learning something new, when I'm doing something new, what's happening within me as a person as I'm doing that. So first of all, you're in unconscious incompetence. So this matches up with pre-contemplation stage. So in unconscious incompetence, I'm unaware. I don't know what I need to do differently. We're unaware of what we don't know. And then secondly, we're in conscious incompetence. So this is where I'm aware that I don't know something, but I don't know how to do it differently. So I'm consciously aware that I don't know something. This stage can be really hard, but again, maps up with that contemplation stage. I'm starting to think about it, and even a little bit into that preparation stage. Next, we're in conscious competence. So this is the preparation stage and the action stage where I am learning. I'm actively learning what I need to do differently. I'm actively learning where I want to change, but it takes a lot of effort. I need to be aware of it. I need to be thinking of it. I need to be recalling it. And this is where therapy can be really helpful, is in this conscious competence stage. And then finally, we move into that unconscious competence. So I'm aware of what I know, but I'm not having to think about it. It's kind of like riding a bike. It becomes second nature. And that's when we start to move into that maintenance stage of the trans-theoretical model. So changes like learning a new skill. It can be awkward at times, it can be frustrating, and sometimes even a little bit painful. But as we grow and learn, that's where we start to really see flourishing happenings. So when we discover that change happens within the frustration, change happens within the growth, this is where we can start to build our resilience and our strength. So whether we're facing kind of a small shift or a major upheaval in our lives, remember that we have lots of options and you have the capacity to navigate it. It's just, what are we choosing and where are we at in that process? Okay, that's all for today. Remember that change is inevitable. It will happen, but how we respond to it is up to us. Until next time, take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Confessions of a Counselor podcast is available anywhere you like to listen to your podcasts on Apple and Android. New episodes are released every Friday. If you enjoyed today's episode, please join the conversation. Leave a review or subscribe to the podcast hosted on Spotify. You can find all these details on janicelyons.com. Until next time, take care.